my mom was sitting with her friends, just chatting. And I was just about to go out with my friends on that rare occasion when we were allowed out. And my mom always looked at us and said, or looked at me and said, pull that skirt down. And I used to always turn around and say, whatever, I'll go out and pull it up again. But my mom's friends used to always tell her, look at the attitude that girl has. And my mom, being very wise and very calm, she used to sit there and say, don't worry, the world will deal with her. And that's so true. Because if we think about it, there are times when the rug of life is pulled from under our feet. And we end up licking our wounds for quite a long time. It's that transition and that period of time that we ask ourselves some very important questions. Why me? Why is this happening to me? Do I really need to fight for this? And is it really worth it? I was on holiday in California in January 2012. We were driving down the Santa Rosa Highway, happy to be on holiday, when suddenly we heard the loudest blast ever. And probably every vehicle in the vicinity had come to a screeching halt. Nobody knew why. When we all got out of the cars and we looked down, this 18-wheeler truck, the driver had missed the curb and just gone right over the flyover into the valley below. When we looked down, it was as though this was a little toy truck and a great big man had just stepped on it. There was nothing left of it. But then soon, our attention was drawn to a BMW that the truck had hit before going over. The BMW was hanging from one wheel on one pillar of the flyover. It was smashed. The rear doors was actually above the car, and the hole underneath of the car had fallen out. In that car were a family. Kelly Groves, a 36-year-old teacher, her daughter, 10-year-old Sage, and a 10-month-old baby, Milo. From where I was standing, I could see Kelly's feet hanging out of the car from the driver's seat. I could literally feel that there was no hope at all. These were the firefighters, the sheriff, the police. They just rushed to the scene. And I heard them talking among each other. I heard them being on their wirelesses. And they all said, there's no hope. We cannot bring a crane onto this bridge because the bridge is too weak. It will not take the weight. No BMW and no car is built to survive impact from an 18-wheeler. There is nothing that we can do. When suddenly I saw this guy from the fire service jump up onto the ledge of the flyover, and he looked down at Kelly and he said, "What is your name?" And she said, she was just screaming at first. And then he said, you've got to tell me your name. And she said, Kelly. And he said, then listen to me. You have to help me to save your children. Your children understand and know your voice. They don't know mine. Your children will listen to you. You have got to help me to save them. So I need you to work with me. I'm going to be with you every step of the way, but I need you to find that strength. You have it. You are a mother, and you can help me to do this. You know, there is incredible power in us reaching rock bottom. Why? As Tony Robbins says, that there are only two things in our lives that help us to take momentous steps and action in our lives. And that is either inspiration or desperation. When Kelly put her hand back to touch her daughter, Sage, it came back covered in blood. And the firefighter said to her, don't worry about it. All I want you to do is to talk to your children and keep them going. So she said to her daughter, Sage, I'm just going to ask you if you're okay, and I just want you to say one word, help. And if you can say that to mommy, I'll know that you're okay. And she kept saying, help, help. So we knew that Sage was okay. But she was flattened in the car that she couldn't even raise her neck. The baby wasn't responding at all. When I was standing there, and I couldn't get to see very much, 1,000 memories flashed in my mind. And I could remember the time when I was in quite a similar situation. Desperation, we had by the truckloads. From the time I was a little girl with my little sister Vanessa, and that's my mom in the picture, and my sister Vanessa in her lap, and that's me on my mom's shoulder. We didn't have a house to stay. We didn't have a place to stay. We lived under people's stairs, in their verandas, behind their houses, wherever they wanted to keep us, wherever they allowed us, and then they told us to move on. Before I came along into the world, I got to know that my parents had already lost 4 children, all before the age of 6 months, to poverty and malnutrition, one after the other. And the twins, Kimberly and Alan, were actually even buried in tea cases because we couldn't even afford coffins. Till this day, as I stand before you, we do not know where they are buried. Such was our condition. These are my parents. That's me in the middle, the chubby one with the fringe. And that's Susan and Neil. Susan was the last child to be born in the family. And when she was brought home, my mother placed her on the bed and said, the doctors have given her 3 days to live. She doesn't have a chance. Be nice to her because she's not going to make it. But I looked at her and I loved her little fingers and toes. And I thought, no, we have to help her. She is going to make it. But just like it was so difficult for us to move from under the stairs, and we thought we were moving to, a proper house, but we moved to a slum. But to give you an idea very quickly, around 3,000 people or more shared 3 toilets. And that's where I grew up. We grew up. There was hardly any electricity. We had to fill water from a tube well. The toilets were never cleaned. The place was running with vermin. But that's where we grew up. There were many people in the area, just like the fire services and the sheriff and the police who helped Kelly and her children. There were very many people who helped us. These are people who help people every day of their lives. The person on the left is a tea shop guy. I used to go to this man with a little bowl in my hand every day and ask him for a little milk and say, you can save my sister's life. And of course, he used to dilute the milk. But every day he gave me that bowl of milk, and every day I brought it home and fed that milk to Susan, pressing her cheeks together and feeding it to her with a teaspoon, bit by bit by bit. You know, wherever I speak and no matter where I go, I always say to people that I have been brought up in utter desperation, but I've also been brought up by parents who inspired us never to ever believe that we were any less. In the words of Maya Angelou, I can be changed by my circumstances, but I refuse to be reduced by it. And we can use stepping stones to our success. We can either take misery and allow it to consume us, or we can use resilience to propel us. It is always our choice. You know, as I stand here before you as a speaker, I can tell you that I have been locked in a toilet with hundreds and hundreds of cockroaches every single evening when it was dark as a punishment from one of my mom's friends. I can tell you that I brought up a little baby sister who was just 3 days old with nothing and no help. My father had to go to work and my mother went out in search of other help. I have lived through some very, very traumatic circumstances, and yet I found it in me to find my voice and to share my story. And I tell people that, you know, we speakers, we have something called a cotton mouth syndrome, which is when you get up here, you feel like your mouth is full of cotton. You can't talk. You're so nervous, you know. But actually, you have to understand that my friends may have told me, Jillian, you're going to be great. And my sisters may have said, you know what, you can do it. But when I stand up here, I don't have any of those hands holding me. I have me and my irrepressible mind. The part of me that makes me act. The part of me that tells me that I can do things. That I am capable of better. You know, these are just some of the things that we can do to develop an irrepressible mind. But we can also self-talk. It is a highly effective technique. Just talking. So many of you will never ever face trauma like Kelly and her children, I sincerely hope. Many of you will never face desperation as myself and my family did. So what you need is inspiration. And you can actually talk yourself into that. Start with small things. Every time you feel that something is hard and you have reached a very low point, please fight through it. Because every little step will turn those neurological connections into neurological pathways. And those pathways will define whether they are the pathways of success or destruction. But you have got to work on it. If any one of you have read the book, The Outliers, it talks about the 10,000-hour rule. So with anything, whether it's a skill or a thought or an action, you need to keep up repetition. You need to understand that we work by the power of repetition, as Aristotle clearly says. To win any battle in life, and now with the population, where competition is at its peak, we have to understand that the way to win is to understand that every time you fall down, you make sure that you get up again. This time, fight harder. This is what Kelly's car was when it was brought over. It was really like a Coke can, sandwiched. But what can we learn from this? Did they survive? Did the family make it? They did indeed. Milo came out with just a scratch because she had gone to sleep and she didn't even know what happened. Sage was badly injured, but absolutely fine. When they took her to hospital, she was definitely on the road to recovery. And Kelly had her whole pelvis in pieces, but she too survived to tell the tale. And they had met most of the team who helped them survive. But when the Navy Seabees who actually saved her, and you can look up the story on Google, when the Navy Seabees saved her family and helped them, they were told, "Thank you for what you did for Kelly." And he said, no, she saved her children. It was her resilience of mind. It was her inner strength that made it through. Nothing could have helped her on that day. Did my sister Susan make it? After being given up by the country, the community, and even the doctor. Yes, she did indeed. She graduated, she got married in Australia, and that's her little girl Samantha in the middle. Did I make it? I had an impossible dream. Coming from abject poverty, I had an impossible dream. My dream was always just to help hundreds of people. I just wanted to help everybody who came my way. But today, I have 6 charities helping the children, the aged, women in need, the disabled, the sick. And we have 6 teams round the clock working with these people and helping them 24/7. My dream has definitely come true as well, because I found that inner strength, and I believed when my parents said to me, "It's not what's happening to you today, it's what is inside you that matters. You have that capability. Don't forget it." So yes, my book and my story won the Best Screenplay Award, the Epic and Historical category at the Monaco Film Festival, but it's also being turned into a Hollywood production and into a theater. But you know what? It doesn't impress me. I'm not that interested. Everyone seems to ask me, "Are you excited about the movie?" No, I'm not. I'm really not. Because that was not my passion. My passion is to reach people, to help them to understand that they have this irrepressible mind, this power to stand up every time they fall down. And that is going to make them a winner, in my own opinion. I only changed when you're born poor. It's not your fault. But if you die poor, it is your fault. And I believed that. But I was tested. And I can tell you one thing, that it is only when we are tested that we discover our true potential and we realize who we really and truly can be. That person that you want to be is right there, is somewhere there. But only thing, it's on the other side of very hard work, of deciding to use the power of repetition every time you fall down, to get up again and to be stronger than the last time. And to have a mind that is unwilling to relent. So, in line with your theme today, it takes two to tango. Please let it be you and your irrepressible minds. Thank you.